Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Bench's Book Reviews. What's in the box today? A cat, namely Tabby McTat, and it's by Julie Donaldson. It's illustrated by Axel Scheffler. They're a prolific writing and illustrating partnership. You may be familiar with some of their work, but I think this is the first one on my channel, so let's see how we get on. It even says by the creators of the Gruffalo. They created the Gruffalo then, those two. Here we go. Not sure which of these is Tabby McTat. I expect one of them is. It doesn't actually have cat in it, but Tabby McTat may well be a cat. These normally rhyme, the Donaldson Scheffler works, so I will attempt to read it in rhyme. Let's see. Oh, and I'll show some of the illustrations because they're quite nice. The Axel Scheffler's quite a recognisable style, once you're familiar with him. That lion there is looking a bit almost vulture-like. I'm not really sure. I guess it's looking at the crow on its back and thinking, I'm a cat. Maybe I could eat the bird. That's funny, there's a busker here, and it says no busking on this sign, so he's not following the rules, it would appear. This one eating a pear. You got lots of nice details. There's a nice sketchy looking bloke with a newspaper. Someone doing the pinky finger thing when he's on the phone, as though he's not sure if he's pretending to be on the phone or if he's actually on the phone, but he's holding a telephone. Anyway, I'm not going to describe all the pictures in such great detail, but just so you get an idea. And this guy is doing some shifty side-eyeing as well. I'm not sure. He wants to report the busker for illegal busking. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the pictures in such detail, but only if I spot something particularly interesting, but just so you get an idea of the illustrations. This lady's looking right at the camera, as it were, at the illustrator. Okay, here we go. Tabby McTat was a busker's cat, with a meow that was loud and strong. The two of them sang of this and that, and people threw coins in the old checked hat, and this was their favourite song. The hat does have some sort of check on it. Now, with these songs, I obviously don't know the melody, so I'll just do the best I can. Me, you, and the old guitar, how perfectly, perfectly happy we are. Me, you, and the old guitar, how perfectly happy we are. Just to explain what's going on there. Me, you is written a bit like a cat might say mew. So I don't know if I should be going mew. And then perfectly is written like per with lots of R's. I'm not sure if that means that the cat interjects with a mew and then a purr. And he's just like sharing those lines. Then they haven't interrupted the quotation marks. So I think this is just busking bloke. And it says the two of them sang. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but anyway. That's the song. He's right-handed. Let's move on. One morning, while Fred, I don't know who that is. Who's Fred? Anyway, one morning while Fred ate some bacon and bread. Oh, Fred looks suspiciously like the busker, so I guess it must be Fred the busker, even though he wasn't introduced earlier. Rhymes with bread, yeah. One morning while Fred ate some bacon and bread, McTat took a stroll around the block. So referring to the cat by its surname and to the busker by his first name. I don't know if that's a sign that Donaldson shows more respect to a feline than to a gentleman of the street. But anyway. McTat took a stroll around the block, then stopped. For there, on a doorstep, sat a gorgeously glossy and green-eyed cat. She was black, with one snowy white sock. McTat, I suppose, is a boy cat. A bloke, a Tom, if you will. That hasn't actually been said explicitly, but I think that's the implication. And then with a sock, they just mean that one of the feet is a bit white. Green-eyed, green in the picture, so Scheffler has been concentrating. It's quite cool here. These statues looking a bit grim too. I don't know if that's the thing he often does, that he gives statues interesting facial expressions. Sock and McTat. Okay, so the cat is called Sock, or maybe it's just McTat's nickname for her. Had a cat-to-cat chat. Well, that's quite good. I mean, if you know, the word chat is actually the French spelling of the word cat. So cat-to-cat chat. It's quite a nice look to it. And that's how their story began. For while they were chatting of this and of that, a thief had his eye on the old checked hat. He eyed it. He snatched it. He ran. Oh dear. There's someone pinching Fred, as we now know, Fred the busker's hat. This is probably full of cash. He's been busking. I don't know if this bloke with the nose here and the glasses, I don't know if he was on the first page. We look. He was one of the fans. Not obviously, and also the thief isn't obviously lurking there. Oh, there's someone, but I don't think that's the thief. Yeah, it's slightly different. Oh, could be actually. No, it's a very similar jump. I think that's meant to be the same guy. Ah, so the thief is lurking there. And this other guy, you can probably tell by his clothing. Can't see him anywhere. So he's just popped up to look alarmed. But yeah, the thief is the dodgy looking guy who I spotted on the first page. Who I said he might be going to report the busker for illegal busking. But actually he's stolen his hat. The busker gave chase, but he tripped on a lace. And crash, in a flash, he was down. There were quite a lot of these rhymes in the middle of lines. And, you know, we had Fred eating bread, and then crash in a flash, and chase tripped on a lace. He broke his leg. Oh dear. That's a big trip then. And he banged his head, and he ended up in a hospital bed in a faraway part of town. I guess he's probably not, he may not even be registered if he's homeless. I don't know if he's homeless, but he's busking. I might be displaying prejudice there. I'm just wondering why I went to a faraway part of town. If you've got a broken leg, go to the nearest hospital. Maybe that was full. Who knows? He's being attended to by a nurse there. It's probably a nurse. She's female, that's more prejudice on my part. I suppose. Goodbye, McTat. Oh no, sorry. Misread the quotation marks there. Goodbye, McTat said, I must get back to Fred. There's another Fred rhyme there. Good thing it wasn't called Sporringe. But where had the busker gone? Oh, so McTat didn't realise, hasn't even spotted that there's been this incident yet. He's just been chatting away with Sock. The sun went down and the sky grew black. The stars came out, but he didn't come back. That means Fred. McTat lingered on and on. A week later, oh wow, he's been waiting for a week. I guess broken leg and a banged head, you do spend a while in hospital, potentially. There's a squirrel in the background on this picture. I think Chef likes squirrels, he puts them in a lot of his books. A week later, Sock took a stroll around the block. Sock and block. And found her new friend looking thin. Oh, he's not been eating much then. He's gone off and left me, said Tabby McTat. Then Sock said, my people, Prunella and Pat. Pat rhymes with McTat. Would gladly find room for a fine tabby cat. That otherwise Tabby is the name, but now it's being used as a like an adjective to describe the kind of cat. She was right. And they took McTat in. Almost rhymes. And they took McTat in. So Prunella and Pat, I guess, at the door. Okay, well that's nice. Next morning, old Fred. He's old now. He's been in hospital for so long. Not sure he was old to begin with. Anyway, old Fred left his hospital bed. Fred Med, we had that before, I think. Didn't we? We had Fred and Bread. Anyway, we had Sed and Fred. Oh wow. Maybe she's not repeating the rhymes. He left his hospital bed and found his way back to the square. I guess the square is where he was busking in the first place, was it? Not sure they mentioned that, but I guess it could be a square. But a brass band stood where the pair once sat. Yep. I mean, one of the instruments is a saxophone, which is technically woodwind, but I guess you sometimes get saxophones in brass bands. And the band played this and the band played that. It's got a similar repertoire to Fred and the cat. And Fred looked all round for his loud meowed cat. Loud meowed. Ooh. Meowed. There's an adjective meaning having a meow. I mean, I guess you could say loud voiced. Loud voiced. Bloke. Oh, that's alright then. But Tabby McTat wasn't there. Oh dear. He's got a bandage on his ankle and on his head. But he seems to have been discharged. He's got a kind of walking stick thing. You can't see the thief in this picture, so they're not going to steal the brass band's hat. It's good. It still says no busking, and they're still just busking away. But there you have it. This is... Here we go. There's a load of pictures on this page. You often get these in these Donaldson and Scheffler books. They have a bit around this point of the story where they accelerated a bit by doing quite a few of the pictures. Something like this in The Highway Rat, which I've also reviewed on this channel. I've just remembered, I may have said earlier, I haven't done a Donaldson yet, but I've done The Highway Rat. And there's the thing there as well. Just keeps things moving along at a nice pace. Now McTat had a wife, so they married. That's nice, I didn't know cats could marry. And a very full life, with plenty of things to do. Things to do capitalised, they're in the two. That's, I always associate that with the style of A.A. Milne in the Winnie the Pooh books. Pooh often thinks of like an important thing, and then they capitalise the I and the T of important thing. So this is quite similar. Things to do, like washing Prunella and pouncing on Pat, that's a nice illustration, and hiding the keys under the mat. And hiding the car keys under the mat, and keeping the newspapers nice and flat. And here you see they're just hitting you with a whole series of rhymes, changing the rhythm. Keeping the newspapers nice and flat, and giving the pens an occasional bat. And nibbling this and nibbling that, that's this, that, that's come in quite a few times. But he dreamed, that's dream, not dreamt. I was recently on this channel saying that I liked past tenses ending in T, and this is dreamed, not dreamt. But anyway, he dreamed of his friend with the old checked hat, that'll be Fred, and he always woke up with a mew. And mew is rhyming back with things to do from earlier there. I don't know enough about cats to know if a mew means it's a bit sad. You know, a bit melancholy, having woken up. I don't know, I mean... It's not clear, they're only showing him dreaming. But yeah, there you go. Oh, he's knocked over a wine glass there. Never mind. Oh, he's back at the square now. And often he said, "What's happened to Fred?" said Fred. We did have that rhyme earlier, so she's not been completely strict about only using each Fred rhyme once. And his paws took him back to the square. This means he went back to the square walking. But a conjurer stood where the pair once sat, so the brass band have left. So they're not regulars then. A few different people. This is nice. This is quite common. If you look very closely there, you can see that kid has a Gruffalo cuddly toy, which Axel Scheffler likes to do. He likes to put the Gruffalo in pictures. Thief's not there again. But a conjurer stood where the pair once sat. He's conjuring. And he pulled out this and he pulled out that. That's pulling things out of his top hat. And people threw coins in the tall black hat, but the busker was never there. Oh, never, because it's often, right? Often, he said, what's happened to Fred, and his paws to come back to it. And I don't know if that means the conjurer's often there, so the brass band were like a one-off, flopped. Now the conjurer's got their spot. I guess if it says no busking, I don't know if conjuring counts as busking, or if busking has to be have like a certain percentage of music. So maybe that's a sanctioned conjurer. That rabbit looks like it might have been in another Axel Scheffler book or something very similar. We have a book called Rabbit's Nap, although I think that's a different rabbit. Anyway, here we are, Sock and Tat again. One morning, Sock said, "Look under the bed." That's said and bed. We had Fred and said and Fred and bed distinctly, and then we have said and bed together. So they're part of the same rhyme family, but they haven't been used in conjunction like that before. And see the 3 kittens I've had. There are 3 kittens under the bed. They look a bit interesting. And Soames looked like this, and Susan like that. I quite like this use of this and that. It's quite a nice little thing to repeat. So Soames looks a bit like that. Susan like this. Or like, no, he looks like this, she looks like that. And the littlest kitten called Samuel Spratt looks exactly the same as his dad. There you go. So they look more like Sock, just with a bit more white than black, or at least more white than on Sock. And then Samuel looks more like his dad. I don't know if that's how cats often come out, like looking like one parent or the other. I think they come out a bit mixed. I have no idea. But I also don't know if Soames is meant to be a boy's name or a girl's name, because theoretically it could be that the girl's like the mum and the son looks like the dad. Seems plausible. Anyway, the 3 kittens grew and they learnt how to mew. And McTat sometimes sang them his song. He's got a song. Oh, is that just the song from earlier? And Samuel Spratt, with his tabby grey fur, had a deafening meow and a deafening meow. Had a deafening meow and a very loud purr, and he simply loved singing along. Me, you, and the old guitar, how perfectly, perfectly happy we are. Me, you, and the old guitar, how perfectly happy we are. It's not a great song, that. I mean, it's only a street musician's cat. Don't expect him to be a lyrical genius, but I think Donaldson's done better. When Susan and Soames found very good homes, their parents were happy and proud. That's why they called it Soames, to rhyme with homes. So they've moved out then. There was one home like this, a couple of kids and some sort of mother. Chickens, and another like that. Oh no, sorry, the this is referring, it's a bit posh with like a butler, and then the other one's more rural looking with a few chickens. And another like that. But nobody wanted poor Samuel Spratt. I don't know if it's normal that you give your cats away. I really don't know much about cat keeping. Or not keeping, or giving away. But nobody wanted poor Samuel Spratt. They all said, "His voice is too loud." Here are some people holding their ears and a lady looking dismissive saying, "His voice is too loud." That's unfortunate for him. but maybe he can just hang out with his parents. Maybe that's nice. Now, Tabby McTat was a home-loving cat, but he couldn't stop dreaming of Fred. And one day, he called for his wife and his son, and he told them... Wait a minute, the rhythm's gone weird there. And one day he called for his wife and his son, and he told them, "There's something that has to be done. I must go and find him," he said. So he's leaving, just ditching his kid. So up and down and all over town, he wandered a whole week long. He's wandering past a vegetable market there, on a street called Market Street. There's another cat coming around the corner there. It's a bit sketchy. For many a morning and afternoon, by the light of the sun and the light of the moon. That's a bit weird. You think the moon would come out in the evening, not in the afternoon. Till he heard a familiar song. He's been stalked by some other cat. I don't know who that is. I mean, that's just his son has followed him. Because he's evidently in all these pictures. There's this other cat behind. Yeah, that must be Samuel Spratt. And he's off to the riverside, judging by that signpost. Just me and the old guitar. You'll remember earlier it was me and you and the old guitar. Now it's just me and the old guitar. Just me and the old guitar. If I had a cat, I'd be happier far. Just me and the old guitar. With my cat, I'd be happier far. Oh, he's looking a bit sad there, old busker. Though, you know, singing the blues. At least he's not being stalked by thieves anymore. And now the cats have found him. It's Tabby McTat! It's my long-lost cat. Old Fred was ecstatically glad. Ecstatically. That's got tat in the middle of it, which is quite nice. Then the two of them sang of this and that, and people threw coins in the new checked hat. It's new because the thief nicked the old one, because they couldn't recover it. But why did McTat feel sad? Sad rhyming back with glad there. It's quite nice, these rhymes spanning several lines. That didn't rhyme what I just said. Though it sounded like it. Well, it seems to be remembering his time with Prunella and Pat. Based on that picture. He was missing his wife, there you go, and his comfortable life, and the dozens of things to do, they've capitalised that again, like washing Prunella and pouncing on Pat, and hiding the car keys under the mat, and keeping the newspapers nice and flat, and giving the pens an occasional bat. But how could he tell the busker that? So we're just calling him the busker. I mean, that couldn't possibly be the way McTat thinks of him. Like my mate, Fred. So I'm not really sure about that. I mean, that's slightly weird. I mean, it probably fits the rhythm of the line better, but it's a weird switch in point of view. Then out from a shadow sprang Samuel Spratt. I guess just Spratt because he's small. Oh, please let me be the busker's cat, he said with his deafening mew. He's just saying the busker. Maybe he doesn't know his name. I don't know if the cats know him. I mean, no, it says Prunella and Pat. It doesn't just say woman 1 and woman 2. Now Samuel Spratt is the busker's cat, with a meow that is loud and strong. But I mean, that's direct speech that Samuel Spratt's using there. So Tabby McTat must have just said I went round with the busker. That must be how I referred to him. Interesting. Now Samuel Spratt is the busker's cat with a meow that is loud and strong. The two of them sing of this and that, though Samuel sings just a little bit flat, and people throw coins in the old checked hat. In the old checked hat? That's weird. Well, I guess time has passed. It's just a couple of pages ago it was still a new hat. So it's just got old, is what they're saying. Don't know if there's any other way of telling how much time has passed. There's another picture, I can't see the thief, which is nice. Maybe he's in prison. or doing community service or something. I don't know if you go to prison for a first offence of nicking a busker's hat. Buskers probably don't have very good legal defence teams normally to encourage stiff sentences. There's a bookseller there, looking a bit weird. Anyway, and this is their favourite song. It's going to be the old one. Me, you, and the old guitar. How perfectly, perfectly happy we are. Me, you, and the old guitar. How perfectly happy we are. So they've not rewritten that for the last page. And that's it. Well, there you go. Well, obviously you have this nice framing. You know, it basically ends as it started, just with the new generation of cat. And even the checked hat has become old again. So now we know that this was Tabby McTat and this was Samuel Spratt. So that got revealed. This is Sock. This is Fred, aka the Busker. So yeah, we figured out most of that. I quite like most of it. I didn't think that much of the song. I mean, considering it's like closes it out and opens it up, you could have put a bit more effort in that. I mean, this idea of me, you being written mew. I don't know, because it's just a different vowel sound, so it doesn't really work for me. It's possible that I think Julie Donaldson may be Scottish, and different regional accents often use different vowel sounds, so it's possible that she did in her accent mew and me-you sound more similar, in which case that would be some defence. Other than that, it was quite good. I think that the deafening meow and the loud meowed, I mean, it's a nice rhyme, but it's very well, it was a bit tricky to read in a couple of places, but generally quite good. Very typical of Donaldson and Scheffler in terms of the structure, and this one page with the 8 little pictures. Definitely got that in the Highway Rat. I think I meant Stickman, something very similar. But yeah, if you want more Julie Donaldson and Scheffler, do let me know in the comments. And that's that. I mean, I think the most thing that concerns me most with this one is that the way they just call him the Busker. It seems very dehumanizing in some ways. You know? And I don't know why busks at a place that says no busking. It feels a bit like a joke. But on the other hand, you'd think you could find somewhere to busk where busking was allowed. And you might feel a bit more sympathy for him when his hat gets nicked. In some ways, the thief is just sticking up for what is right. Could say. Anyway, that's it. Join me next time for another of Mr. Bench's book reviews. Bye.